Good afternoon, everyone. Mary Sloan here with another episode of Inspirational Influencer News. Secrets of people making money and making a difference. And my guest this afternoon, Brad Warren, is certainly someone who is doing both. And I think you're going to find the show absolutely fascinating because this is not a topic that there are too many people talking about. So don't go anywhere. Brad was a national and international speaker, so he won't even be dull and boring like me. Well, we try not to be. An international speaker, author, seminar leader, and business coach for over 40 years. He has traveled to 19 foreign countries and 27 of the United States over that time, teaching a wide range of business courses, including time management, customer service, communication skills, how to design and deliver powerful presentations, how to run better meetings, lead generation, and negotiation skills. In other words, he's a smart guy and knows a lot and has spent a lot of time helping other people know some of these wonderful things. He's coached over 500 plus business owners and sole proprietors on goal setting and accomplishment, business planning and implementation, and how to be more effective and productive, which means more sales and more revenue. He is the 2014 recipient of the Bay East Association of Realtor Affiliates of the Year Award and the author of Just Sold, the Real Estate Professional's Guide to Selling More in Less. He's spoken at the National Association of Realtors in 2016 and 17 and at their annual conventions on Time Block Your Way to Success with Less Stress. He's also certified to teach The One Thing, the all-day workshop based on the national bestseller of the same name by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. Okay.
Got it. That's right.
After 40 plus years as a business coach, speaker, and trainer, Brad transitioned to a new career as a land banking consultant. And if you have no idea what that means, you're going to learn a lot, and I think you'll find it fascinating. So he helps patient investors build generational wealth by investing in land. Because according to Brad, and I think it's true, they're not making any more of it. As a matter of fact, I'm learning that thanks to the ocean coming at us, we may even be getting less of it, but a story for another day. So what is it that you really want people to understand about this whole world of land banking besides what the heck is it?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Mary, for having me on your show, and welcome all of your viewers, your listeners. And the one thing that I think people should come away with, or that I hope they come away with, is that this is very easy to invest in. The threshold is certainly not cheap. It's not 5,000 or 10,000. We'll get to that later, what the minimum is, but it's very easy to do. And we call it set it and forget it real estate investing, because you buy and then once a year you have to pay your property taxes. You want to be a good taxpayer and not lose the land by being delinquent. But that's it. It's about 10 or 15 minutes once a year. You pay your property taxes and then you don't think about it again for another year. The only time you really get involved is when the developer comes and knocks on your door and says, "Hi, Brad. Hi, Mary. Hi, whoever. I need your land to build my big project, and I'm going to give you a boatload of money." That's why we call it building generational or legacy wealth. It's not just for you. Hopefully it outlives your lifetime and you can give it to your kids, niece, nephew, alma mater, charity, whatever you want to do with it.
Well, that sounds pretty amazing. And it does sound like something anybody could do, provided they had a little money to invest. I mean, it is an investment. So, I mean, we're not talking a small amount of money, but we're not talking huge amounts of money either, are we?
No, the minimum investment is $25,000, and we can take clients up to about $2 million. And a lot of my investors, Mary, actually use an IRA, a 401k. Maybe it's a dormant 401k from a previous job. Right now, we have a lot of people that left the workforce. They're not contributing into their IRAs anymore. So those IRAs are not necessarily growing unless they're invested in really good stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And we know where that's headed lately and what's been going on there. A lot of people's 401ks are now 201ks, and in some cases 101ks. But if you've still got a minimum of 25,000 in a retirement account, it has to be what we call a self-directed IRA. We're not going to get into the weeds today with that explanation, but you check with your CPA and you can find out more about that. Self-directed IRAs are allowed to invest in real estate, whereas regular IRAs are not. But you can use that money. Hopefully that's what we call patient money. It's in there, it's in that account. Maybe you're 40 or even 50, and you still got 10, 15, 20 years until you're going to need that money. That's what we want people to do. Use money that is very patient, that can sit there, and you're not going to need it for a hip replacement or a midlife crisis or an around the world cruise. You just set it and forget it and let it sit there until that developer knocks on your door.
Well, it's certainly an easy investment, that's for sure. You don't get much easier than that. And the thing that I loved about it when you were talking to me about it first was real estate investing has always been pretty popular with a large number of people. They understand that, land is something that seems to go up in value almost always. We have these times where people have done crazy things and things need to reset, but it's pretty rare. Not like the stock market where, if you like roller coasters, get involved in the stock market. But land isn't like that because, for one thing, nobody's getting any more of it. Like I said, it's even getting lesser thanks to the infringement of the ocean coming at us. So it is something that people understand how it can increase in value. But most people think that renting out a house is the ideal way to go. How would you compare renting a house? Buying a house, renting it out, you get a mortgage on it, which is so it helps you to pay for that investment, and slowly over time, you pay that off. I think that's a pretty commonly understood real estate investment. How would you compare that to what you do?
Well, we in the land banking business, we like to talk about tenants, toilets, termites, trouble, and taxes. I've owned a couple of rentals myself. And when you get called at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night when you're trying to relax and watch a movie with my wife, and it's the property manager telling me that the washing machine in the basement overflowed, flooded, there's 3 or 4 inches of water in the basement, you're going to need a new washing machine. And oh, by the way, I've already gone ahead and called in at extra pay because it's a weekend.
And at night.
And at night. The company that's going to suck all the water out and dry out the rug, which you're going to need a new rug and so on. I just got tired of all that. And so a lot of our investors are getting out of the rental industry before the prices of housing drop too far. It's still, my understanding is rents are still pretty high and you can cash flow pretty well. But in the long run, I like land because, like you said, it kind of just sits there. It doesn't do anything, doesn't require my attention, doesn't call me. There's no mortgage. People do not take out a mortgage, don't borrow the money to buy the land. It has to be money that you already have that can be very patient and sit there over time. The other problem with rentals that I found is pretty much every year, the current tenant leaves. So now you have a releasing fee, which is usually a half a month's rent. Sometimes it's a full month. Maybe the house sits vacant. So do you have the carrying cost to pay the mortgage for the 2 or 3 months that the tenant is not there until a new tenant is brought in? You're bleeding money. It's now an expense rather than income, and it's money coming out of your pocket. So again, I'm not against rental property. It's a great way to go for some people. I like to diversify. I still have one of my 2 units. So we actually made a profit, sold one, and used all that money to pay down the mortgage on the one that we kept. So it's now mortgage free. So if I don't have a renter, at least I'm not losing any money that month. I may not be getting income, but I don't have to put any money out of my pocket. So for some people, it's great. I say diversify. I don't want all of people's 401ks or 201ks or whatever. I just want a little piece. Diversify, dip your toe in the water, come in at the minimum if that's all you can afford right now, and stay with us for a year or two and learn more about the process and understand why we believe land banking is an exceptionally good investment. And one other thing to mention, you said about land disappearing because the ocean's rising. Well, land is also disappearing because of development. We all know that. Just look around the town that you live in now, and I'm sure there's a lot that was empty 20 years ago, and you drove by it and you said, wow, I should look into that. It's vacant land right here on the main street. Maybe I should buy it. You never did. And now 20 years later, there's a bank or an apartment building or a shopping center or something like that. And you're kicking yourself in the head. Oh, God, I wish I had bought back then. Well, there's land speculation and there's land banking. Land speculation is buying land, hoping that the development will show up. Land banking, as your listeners and viewers will learn if they get a hold of me at the end of this and want to learn more, we have a 1-hour presentation that's a full we call it Land Banking 101. It's to teach people more about land banking because you actually cannot even invest with us until we educate you first. But one of the things you learn about is that land banking, we research very highly all of the land that we sell. And by the way, some of you can see this is a map of California behind me. That white circle is a 60-mile radius around downtown LA. We only invest in the periphery. It's called the exurbs, a suburb of a suburb. We only invest in the outskirts of that circle where there's available land. You want to buy land in downtown LA? Yeah, you got $2 to $7 million per acre. I think that's a little bit more expensive than the $25,000 per acre that we can get land for. But as an example, every 30 properties that our company looks at to buy, and by the way, we buy the land first. We're not a salesperson like a real estate agent who represents the seller and puts it on the market and tries to bring in buyers. We research the land. We buy 1 out of every 30 that we look at. So we are rejecting 29 out of every 30 that we look at because they're just unsuitable for a number of reasons we don't have time to go in today, but we teach you about those things in that educational webinar. So we buy it and then we sell it to the investor, and they know that we've done the risk mitigation. We've taken as much risk as we can out of the deal by doing all of that research.
That's great because, actually my mother, way back when, bought on the outskirts of Calgary, Alberta in Canada. And, it was a city that was growing rapidly. And she knew it. She lived there. She could see it. And so she bought 5 acres just of grass. And that's all there was there. And we didn't do anything else with it, which was good because it wasn't any hassle at that point. It was just paying the taxes. And, she had that for a long time. And, it paid for educations from me and my brother, and it paid for starter homes for us so that, so it's an amazing investment. But like you say, patient investing. I mean, there was nothing happening.
Yep, that's land banking. If she had, now we do a lot more research than just look around, but if she knew, okay, I see housing coming in here, here, and here, so it's probably going to come here. Maybe you attend a city council meeting, you look at the general plan for the city and where the zoning is, and she probably bought it. We would call that, there's 5 zonings of land, and she probably bought what's called non-residential agricultural. It was probably very cheap, just grass, kind of in the middle of nowhere, but the next one up is residential. Maybe it got rezoned And then a housing developer came in and said, I want your land because I'm going to build 1,000 homes here. And I'm guessing something along the lines of that.
Something like that happened. Exactly.
Yeah. And just in case, Mary, because a lot of times we've been alluding to the amount of money you can make. We tell our clients, number one, you have to be patient. We tell them very conservatively, 7 to 10 year hold. Now it can happen sooner and it can happen later. That's on average. So people need to know this is not get rich quick. This is not a flip. This is not 90 days in and out and I got the money back in the bank. This is patient investing over 7 to 10 years. And our returns, and I can't use the G word, I can't say guaranteed. Nobody in investing is ever allowed to say that. But I can say on average, based on thousands of satisfied clients who have exited, our returns are between 3 and 7 times your original investment. So even at the low end of 25,000, you will exit, hopefully you will exit no less than 75 to 175, somewhere in that range. And then if you've got enough time, you take, let's say you put in 25 and you got back 100. You do it again. You put in 100 and this time you get back 400. That's legacy wealth. That's generational. That's a chunk of change where you go from 25,000 to 400,000 and all you did was pay property taxes once a year and nothing else. That's lazy man's investing is what we call it. Lazy woman's investing, lazy human investing.
Yes, let's keep this wide open. If you've got the money, you can invest in it. And but it is an excellent. I mean, certainly the results my mom had were fabulous, and it certainly made a huge difference in what was available to us. And she didn't have to sell the family home, and she didn't have to change her location. I think we, as certainly my generation, we have accepted moving and changing homes a lot more frequently than people in my mom's generation did, where, this was your home for life. You bought one home, and that's certainly how she felt about it. And it was where she passed away. So, she would have been very upset if she had to do something about that. But she didn't have to, which was wonderful.
But what else can I tell you? What else do you think your listeners?
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that what was curious to me is you don't do anywhere outside of the LA area.
I was just about to say, maybe we should talk about why that area, because that's the first question that people always ask. They said, well, Brad, why just that one area? Isn't there vacant, cheap land in other places in the United States? The answer is yes. But there's something called the 10 growth factors. And I don't have all 10 memorized and I don't have the slide available right now. But just as an example, these are 10 trends, 10 economic forces that are all happening at the same time inside that white circle. We know of other places in the US where there's 2, 3, 4 of the trends, but not all 10. For instance, that's LA. You've got the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach, 2 of the busiest, if not the busiest, other than maybe Seattle. I think they are the 2 busiest ports in the United States. Where do you think all the goods from China come in? They come into Seattle, San Francisco, and Long Beach and LA, and mostly Long Beach and LA. Okay, so you've got a very active port with a lot of goods coming in. Well, then the question is, well, what do they do with all those goods once they're offloaded from the boat onto the shore? They have to go to a warehouse, like an Amazon warehouse, which has to be within 100 to 200 miles of a major metropolitan area, because when you go to Amazon, you want it the next day. So it can't be stored. It can't be stored in these gigantic mega warehouses too far away. Well, guess what they're building all along this area that's only 60 miles away from LA? Warehouses.
Oh, wow.
Skechers, Michaels, Rite Aid, Amazon, you name it. They're all building these gigantic mega buildings. They're huge. They're like a half a mile square. They're gigantic. That's a lot of acres. That's a lot of land. So a lot of our clients buy land in, those are mostly what are known as industrial parks, industrial zone land. And they'll buy the land. They'll just wait for an exit strategy where they sell it to one of these superstores. So that is a couple of trends. You've got not only ports, but you've got rail, you've got air. In the Antelope Valley, there's an airport there, which, by the way, it used to be a passenger and commercial airport. Many years ago, the Palmdale Airport got changed just to commercial. Well, the city council has now passed legislation that is going to turn it back into a passenger terminal. Why? Because the area that we invest in is having such an influx of people. Their population is growing. That's another trend, by the way. You got to have population growth. That drives housing. That drives schools being built. You got to have jobs. I could tell you all about the jobs down there, but all of these trends are going on at the same time, causing this area to just expand exponentially. One of the things we know is when a Walmart comes to town, Walmart bases where they put new Walmarts based on populations of about 200,000 people. Well, right now in Lancaster and Palmdale, the combined population of the two is about a little over 400,000. So you would think they would have two Walmarts. Guess what? They have 5.
Wow.
Why did Walmart build 3 more Walmarts if they weren't expecting 600,000 more people to move in? And both mayors of Palmdale and Lancaster have gone on record as saying by 2030, which is 8 years from now, the population of the Antelope Valley will be over 1 million people. Well, where are those 600,000 people going to work and live and pray and go shop? In all the new development that's taking place. So that's what I mean by these, what we call mega trends or growth factors. By the way, you got to have cheap, affordable land. Oh, how about a business-friendly city government? You don't want to buy, and I don't want to badmouth the city here in California, so I won't mention their name, but there's a city here in California that I live very close to that has been known for decades as anti-growth. And whenever a piece of legislation comes up about building more housing, regardless of what kind, lower income, middle income, upper, it doesn't matter, they vote no. Well, guess what? California now is mandated by law, and Governor Newsom is pushing very strongly. We need 2.5 million more houses in the state to meet the demand for the population. And the pent up demand. Oh, it's ridiculous. We only build a couple 100,000 a year, and now they want 2.5 million. Hello,
holy smokes.
So yeah, so you got to have a business friendly city government, which Lancaster and Palmdale are courting all of these home builders. Please come. We will give you tax breaks. We will help you out. We'll widen the freeway off ramps. That's another thing. Infrastructure. When a city government, so Mary, let me ask you this. When a city government puts $180 million of its money into widening the off ramps off the main freeway, Highway 14, that runs through Lancaster and Palmdale, don't you think they know something that maybe the rest of us don't know? They don't just widen an off ramp and make it easier for people to get on and off unless there's development coming to those 4 corners. That's where the 4 gas stations usually go, right? With the convenience store right on those 4 corners, right when you get off the freeway, there's almost always a gas station there. Well, that's $180 million out of the city coffers to do this kind of infrastructure enhancement. And when you follow city government and you have a friendly city government and you see what they're doing, you kind of scratch your head and go, okay, I guess there's some development coming there because they're spending all that money, and you follow the money. And that's what we do. I'll give you an example with one of my own properties. I have a mixed use property, and it was zoned when I bought it for 4 stories. So I have 1.25 acres, 4 stories. That's great. It's almost like owning what would that be? A 5-acre parcel. right? 4 times 1.25 would be like a 5-acre parcel, only it's vertical. Well, the city council 6 months ago rezoned that mixed use area to 5 stories.
Oh, wow.
They just gave me 1.25 acres of free land. They gave it to me vertically, not horizontally. I don't know more down on the ground, but a hotel builder can now build a 5-story hotel instead of a 4-story hotel. Well, hello, that means the land under that hotel is going to cost them more now. So I love it when the city council of Lancaster and Palmdale does things like that. We call it the unearned increment. I got an incremental increase in my property's value, and I didn't earn it. I didn't do any. I didn't put any of my own money up to cause that to happen. So that's what we look for. We look for trends. We look for growth, and that's why we invest only for 42 years. We are only inside that white circle. Whether we go anyplace else, we'll see. I don't know. In about
Haven't run out yet.
haven't run out yet, but the CEO of our company has kind of alluded to the fact that we probably have 8 to 10 more years because at the rate that we're seeing the land disappear. So I may be out of a job in 8 to 10 years. I hope not. But right now, we have more investors now than we have available land to sell to them. We have a waiting list, basically. So it's just a phenomenal opportunity. And again, people learn more about it when they see my business partner. Her name is Marcel. Whoopsie, there's somebody calling right now that wants to buy some land. I don't know how to shut that off, so it's going to ring 2 more times after this. My apologies to anybody that's listening in. But
it's
my
not
business,
even loud. Like I was on a call yesterday and somebody had a loud phone going off. Oh my God.
sounds loud to me here in the room, but
quiet.
my business partner, Marcellus, when you listen to her and you watch her 1-hour presentation called Land Banking 101, we call it that for just for kicks, Land Banking 101, your eyes are going to go up, your jaw's going to drop, you're going to sit there and go, OMG, oh my goodness, I didn't even know this kind of investment existed. And I want to learn more. And that's when people get a hold of me, is after they've watched that. My phone starts ringing, my email starts lighting up, my text, and people just say, hey, I just watched Marcella's presentation. I want to learn more. I'd like to invest. Please get a hold of me. And that's kind of how I do my business. And that's what I loved. I don't have to do a lot of marketing. I don't have to spend a lot on ads. In fact, I don't do any ads. It's all like this, Mary. It's meeting wonderful people like you, getting exposed to wonderful people like your audience, and then they just email me. My email's on the screen there if people want to get a hold of me, brad@bradwarren.com. And then we do a Zoom. That person and I get together, we do a Zoom call, and we talk. And if they want to proceed, we have a process for doing that.
That's great. And thank you for noticing. And I just want to bring attention to the fact that Brad's name and his email is down in his name. And it's actually pretty easy. Sometimes people come on my show and they have this real complicated thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're never going to remember that. But with Brad Warren spelled just the way you would normally spell it, at brad@bradwarren.com. It doesn't get much easier than that.
Doesn't get much. It takes 5 seconds to do that, and it could change your life, and it could change your children and even your grandchildren's life. Like you said, you got a very smart mom. She's to be congratulated for doing what she did. And like you said, that was decades ago, but look at the impact it's had on your entire family.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And, the first time we talked, it's funny how it just came to me today. Oh, well, that's what my mom was sort of doing. That's interesting. And you just don't really kind of put 2 and 2 together. It's amazing.
Yeah, it may not have been a very conscious decision. Like she might not have done the research. We have a research and acquisition department. We have people that are working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and all they do is research the land within that circle. And we have something called a 16-point comprehensive analysis. It's a checklist. And if the piece of land doesn't get 16 yes check marks, it becomes one of those 29 that we reject.
Wow.
We're looking for the 1 out of 30 that you can answer yes to all 16 questions. And then we buy it and make it available to our investors. So I don't know if your mom did that level of research. I don't know if she had a team of people working 8 hours a day.
Definitely not.
Probably
She
not.
drove
So
out there lots and liked the land.
she was smart. She was intuitive. She saw what was going on and just gut feeling. We don't like to do it on gut feeling. We do it on research because we want to be as sure as we can. Again, I can't say guaranteed, but we want to be as sure as we possibly can that the land that we sell to our investors is in the path of growth. And over time, if you're a patient investor, you will reap the rewards.
Well, that's awesome. And I can't believe time goes by so fast on these shows. And I mean, we're out of time. Can you believe it? That was an amazing presentation. And of course, since I listened and went and listened to Marcella and I said, wow, this is a great investment. Would you like to be on my show? I want my listeners to be able to hear about this. So thank you so much for that. And we will look forward to talking with you again soon, I'm sure. As I said, I'm going to change this up, and this is an announcement for everybody, to a podcast. So these shows will be available in another format in, give me a month. So,
well, again, thank you very much for having me on, and I look forward to working together again, and hopefully, get some emails in my inbox. I'll go and check it right when we're done and see if any have shown up.
sounds good. Anyway, I'm sure this show stays live for a while. It's alive on Facebook, it's alive on YouTube, it's alive on LinkedIn, and Brad or I have a link to the show at all times. So you can reach out to us and find out more, and then have a call with him and really find out what is involved and is it for you.